Good morning, students. Today's topic is the leukocytes. Leukocytes. As in the last lesson, we have read that we have discussed that blood is made up of two different components. Number first is the lymph. Number second is the foreign elements. The lymph contains about 55% of the total volume of the blood, and it's made up of about 90 to 92% water and some special types of proteins such as fibrinogens, uh, albumins and globulins. And then the second component of the blood is made up of some special types of cells such as erythrocytes, leukocytes, and blood platelets. So we have discussed some of these cells. Now today's topic is about the leukocytes. Leukocytes are also called as WBCs, WBCs, or white blood cells. Now, on the basis of the granules, the particles, the granules are you can understand it as the particles. They are actually the secretory vesicles present within the cytoplasm of some certain types of leukocytes. On the basis of these particles, the leukocytes are of two types. Number first is the granulocytes, granulocytes, and number second is the agranulocytes, agranulocytes, sites. Okay, you should remember that leukocytes do not have any color because they do not contain the hemoglobin as we have seen in case of RBCs or red blood cells. Leukocytes, their number is also very much less than the number of the red blood cells, and their age is also relatively very small as compared to the erythrocytes. So on the basis of the presence or absence of the granules, the leukocytes are of two types: granulocytes and agranulocytes. Okay, there are basically three types of granulocytes present within the leukocytes. Number first are the neutrophils. Number second are the basophils. Number third are the eosinophils. Eosinophils. And similarly, there are two types of granulocytes: lymphocytes, lymphocytes, and monocytes. Monocytes. Neutrophils are the most abundant cells present within the granulocytes portion of the leukocytes. They comprise almost 60 to 65% of the total count of the leukocytes. Okay, then neutrophils, 60 to 65%. Then the basophils, they are the least number of cells present within the leukocytes. Their number comprises 0.1 to 1%. And similarly, eosinophils, they are about 2 to 3% in the granulocytes portion of the leukocytes. Okay, the neutrophils, neutrophils, the neutrophils and monocytes and monocytes monocytes, they act as phagocytic cells. Phagocytic cells. Neutrophils and monocytes, they act as phagocytic cells. That is their function, their job is to engulf the foreign bodies, the particles, disease causing agents or pathogens. Whenever they enters within the body, the job, the function of the neutrophils and monocytes is to engulf them, to destroy them, and then save the body from the detrimental effects of these foreign bodies. Now, as far as the basophils are concerned, the basophils, the basophils secrete some certain chemicals such as histamine, serotonin, and heparin. The basophils, they secrete some certain chemicals such as histamine, serotonin, and heparin. These chemicals, they produce inflammatory reactions within the body. They produce inflammatory reactions within the body. You know, these whenever body gets injured or undergoes a trauma, the inflammatory reactions are actually caused due to some certain factors such as microbes, damage to the tissue, injury, trauma, heat, etc. What happens at that time? These chemicals, they cause the blood vessels at the site of the injury to leak fluid into this damaged tissue, and this fluid, they causes swelling, inflammation at the site of the injury. And the benefit of this swelling is that it do not allow the infection or the disease causing agents to proliferate, to move further, and thus saves the other tissues from any damage. Okay, not only this, these chemicals, they also attract some other leukocytes, and these leukocytes, for example the neutrophils, monocytes, they comes to the site of the injury where they engulf the damaged and the dead cells along with the foreign particles, microbes, and other disease causing agents, and thus saves the body from the detrimental effects, from the harmful effects of the microbes or foreign bodies that somehow enters into the body. Okay, now the third type of cells, that is the eosinophils. Eosinophils the primary function of the eosinophils is to resist infections, They are also associated with allergic reactions. They are also associated with allergic reactions of the body. So the basic function of eosinophils is to resist infections, and they are also associated with the allergic reactions, or to produce allergic reactions within the body. So these are in nutshell. This is in nutshell the introduction of these three types of cells, which are commonly known as the granulocytes. That is the neutrophils, basophils, and eosinophils. Now let us move to the next type of cells, that is the lymphocytes. 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 There are basically two types of lymphocytes called as B lymphocytes and T lymphocytes. B lymphocytes and T lymphocytes. The basic function of the lymphocytes is to produce immune response. Immune response. Response within the body. This is their most important function. That is the important function of lymphocytes is to generate immune response in the body. It can be understood as the resistance to diseases. That's immune response means immunity, resistance to diseases. Okay, so let's now move to the other type of cells, that is the third type of cells in the formed elements. Formed elements. Formed elements. Formed elements. We have discussed that there are three types of cells that constitute what we call as formed elements. Number first is the erythrocytes. Number second is the leukocytes. We have discussed both erythrocytes as well as the leukocytes. Number third type of cells are the platelets. Platelets. Platelets are the formed elements or a portion of the formed elements. Platelets are also called as thrombocytes. Thrombocytes. These are actually the fragments, cell fragments, which are derived, which takes birth from some special cells present within the bone marrow, called as megakaryocytes. So the megakaryocytes are some special cells present within the bone marrow. They are larger in number, and their size are also large. For example, if this is a megakaryocyte present within the bone marrow, what happens? It gets ruptured, it splits into small fragments, and that fragments and these fragments are called as the platelets. 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 So the platelets are actually the cell fragments of the megakaryocytes present within the bone marrow. Platelets, they secrete many substances, and many of which, or in other words, the platelets, they release some certain substances, and most of these substances act as coagulating factors. Act as coagulating factors. And these coagulating factors are essential for the clotting of the blood. The platelets, the thrombocytes themselves play an important role in the blood coagulation, and the factors they release, the substances they release, most of them also take part in the coagulation of the blood. So in nutshell, we have discussed the uh, blood cells. So what would I say here is that, uh, dear students, we have discussed so far that the body requires certain nutrients. It requires oxygen and other essential substances. because as we know that the fundamental unit of the living organisms is the cell. The cells require such nutrients, oxygen, and other substances. And similarly, there are some certain substances which are produced, which are the byproducts of the metabolism. And those substances which are very harmful to the body must be removed from the body. The blood comes in aid. The blood is basically, it carries the vital substance to the tissues and then takes the harmful substance from them and then allow the body to excrete them. Okay, so the blood comprises of two different parts. Number first, as we have discussed in the previous lecture, that blood is the first part of the blood is the plasma, and the second part of the blood is the foramen alveolus. Plasma, as we have discussed, is straw-colored, viscous liquid, which is about 90 to 92% water. Blood also contains the proteins, commonly known as plasma proteins. They constitute about 8% of the total volume of the plasma. These proteins, they perform different roles. These proteins, such as fibrinogens, such as albumins and globulins. The plasma also contains minerals such as sodium, calcium, chlorine, bicarbonates, and it also contains, that is, the plasma also contains the organic molecules such as lipids, proteins, and lipids, proteins, and some other certain substances such as hormones. Similarly, the formed elements, they are comprised of the three different types of cells. That's erythrocytes, or the red blood cells, leukocytes, or the white blood cells, and blood platelets. The functions of the erythrocytes, as we have discussed in the previous lecture, is that they carry the oxygen and then delivers it to the body, to the body cells of the body. And similarly, it also helps to remove carbon dioxide, about 20 to 25% from the cells, and then allow body to excrete them to the external world. Similarly, the leukocytes are the soldiers of the body. Their main function is to protect the body from the external uh, agents that somehow enters into the body, and these external agents may be the germs, that is the disease causing agents, or pathogens. Then the third type of foreign elements are the platelets. The basic function of the platelets is to release some certain substances, most of which act in the coagulation of the blood. And the platelets themselves, they take part in the coagulation of the blood. Hope you might have understood the previous lesson as well as the today's lesson. I'm thankful you, and I'm thankful for you for watching me and listening me.